I never set out to design a monument. I didn't think I knew a lot about the labour movement, and I was reluctant to go down that road. But then, thinking about the folk music that I listened to a lot, singers like Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie and Leadbelly sang about strikes and lockouts, and people like Joe Hill stood out, people who had used music in their struggle. And there was quite a bit of information in there. My name is John Kindness. I'm the artist who designed the Labour Monument.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want?
Every positive advance for workers and communities comes at a price.
That's Tom Paine Cronin, director of the Comey Institute for Industrial Relations at St. Joseph's University.
Many of the advantages that we have today are things that we enjoy, whether it's the 8-hour day or health and safety or the right to a public education. Men and women, children fought for and won at a tremendous cost, and I think that people need to know that because many of the same struggles are still going on in this country today.
This has always been a working class neighborhood. This neighborhood was built for the workers that worked at the Hog Island shipyard at the onset of World War I. I'm Cathy Brady. I've lived in this neighborhood most of my life, and I'm the lead community organizer for the Labour Monument, Philadelphia's tribute to the American worker. Hog Island was the largest shipbuilder in the world. They employed at their height 20,000 people there. And they ended up needing to build a neighborhood to house those workers. When they did, they built row homes, as you can see, and they made Elmwood Park an oasis for these workers to go after work and relax.
When I first visited the park and I first met with the neighbours in the park, there wasn't anywhere to sit down and discuss things, to have a meeting about the park.
What happened over the years was the industries left. So then we start seeing a real decline in the neighborhood. In the 70s and the 80s, it looked deserted. The grass was way overgrown. Dead trees were throughout. The benches were destroyed. There was graffiti all over. So the neighbors formed the Friends of Elmwood Park, and we decided that we were going to take matters into our own hands and rejuvenate our park.
The Fairmont Park Art Association took a new initiative where they would invite citizens to come forward and say, we would like a piece of art for our constituency. And the Friends of Elmwood Park had sort of reclaimed their territory. They were a very strong working class neighbourhood, and I guess I was teamed up with them because I come from an industrial town in Northern Ireland, Belfast. My father was a shipyard worker.
Back in the day, just about all labourers wore denim clothing. So they were called blue-collar workers. But John thought, what a perfect metaphor for the monument.
I came across a set of old work buttons that a friend had collected, and they were embossed brass buttons, and some of them had animals. There was a steam train, a rooster. There was a lovely one with an elephant. And I just thought, here's a little piece of vernacular art that I can use to make elements that relate to the labour history that we've commemorated. And there's a blue aggregate in the concrete. There is terracotta brickwork running through that, like stitching. So between the bronze buttons, the blue ground and the terracotta, it becomes symbolic of the workwear that a lot of these people would have worn for their daily job.
The first button on your right is Eugene Debs, who in 1893 formed the American Railway Union.
And he was one of the people who could see the bigger picture, and he changed the way labour unions were organised from a trade basis to an industrial basis. He thought it was important to organise for your industry, not your individual trade.
He ran for president 5 times in the early 20th century.
Debs, who was himself a railroad worker, used trains a lot in his campaign. So his face is looking at us from the front of a steam train, almost as if it's embossed onto the train. And he was somebody who appealed to me on a personal level. He would just give up everything for what he believed in.
He ended up being arrested on a bogus charge of treason because he was in opposition of World War I. And even in jail, he received 1 million votes